So let's chat about how Doge is getting on in these early days. We've had some interesting wins, some eye-opening announcements of things that they found so far. It's early days, but I thought we'd get into it because, juicy topic. Can't wait to get into this. One of the most exciting stuff going on is the executive order. We took a look at that, whatever it was, week or two ago when this first came out. So there we go. Doge has been established. And the way they did it was a bit clever. It was going to be this new sort of advisory body that didn't really have any links or power. And what they ended up doing was taking over, the United States Digital Services. So that is a little agency that is basically embedded across the entire US government. So it's already in everywhere, looking at the data stuff. It's already got, offices, payroll, cleaning staff, all the kind of back-end stuff you want to sort of get up and running. And they've sort of taken this over and put it into effect. Now, they still don't have, as of themselves, decision-making power. So they can make recommendations. But again, the way that's been solved is they're going through something called the Office of Management and Budget.
Yep.
The OMB. So I can't see anything going from Doge to OMB and getting pushed back. I mean, they're clearly being told, whatever comes through,
Trump has instructed them to rubber stamp it.
Yeah, blast everything through. So effectively, they have got exactly what we were hoping they would have, and everyone was saying was impossible for them to have, which is these teams, these kill squads that basically just go in and start annihilating bureaucratic jobs and functions and spending everywhere. So yes, very positive so far. Now, it's also quite clever how they've done it. So they basically structured it into these little teams, these 4-man teams. So you've got a leader who's kind of your decision maker, your Hannibal from the A team who kind of figures out what it is they're going to do. They've got a data engineer. And that's good. Well, I mean, first of all, I suppose if you're going with the US Digital Services, you kind of want to do that. But it fits into the whole tech bro takeover of the US government thing that we're witnessing. So that's very cool. But they can do interesting stuff like go into the systems and see, okay, out of our workforce of whatever it is, like 100,000 people, how many of them actually send emails or log into the system? Or do anything at all? How many of these people? Yes, turn up at the office. That's a good one. How many people are actually doing anything? So they can very quickly identify who is just basically on the payroll. Yeah. Maybe working a second job, something like that. Third member of the team in the little A team is an HR person. So basically the executioner.
The person who possibly softens the blows somewhat.
Well, hopefully not.
Yeah,
hopefully not. But no, you want your axemen sharp and axe to be sharp. So they're basically navigating. How can we do it? So the leader says, we need to get rid of basically all of them. They figures out, okay, how do you actually do it without falling foul? Because you're going to have activist judges all over this.
Loads of employment laws, etc., etc.
All that kind of stuff. And I think the Biden regime in the last few days, they kind of did everything possible to make it as difficult as possible to fire people, but they're just blasting through all of that. And the last one is a lawyer, because with government, there's a whole load of, we call them statutory functions over here, but basically stuff which is mandated by statute or law or something like that. So you need to be a little bit careful when you're unpicking something that you're not basically doing anything illegal.
Sure.
So there you go. You've got your 4-man team. Now, I actually quite like this 4-man setup because it's kind of the perfect size for getting shit done. Because anything bigger than that, and you start finding that you can't get everybody together. But a 4-man team, you can that's like probably the maximum size that you want for really quickly going through and making decisions.
It's a tight executive team.
Yes, it's tight throughout. So, why is this important? Why is the work that Doge doing so important? So this is US federal government spending. Now, you'll notice that it doesn't look particularly good. I would divert your attention in particular to, let's have a look at this. So here we go, 2019. The federal government was spending $4.5 trillion, which is quite a lot of money.
That is.
But it's manageable. I mean, I know it wasn't, I'm over-egging. It wasn't quite manageable. It was getting unmanageable slowly.
Yeah.
Now it's 7.2. As you can see from this chart, basically it went through the roof after 2020.
It's been a long, slow climb upwards, though, hasn't it?
Yeah, but then it was just rocket boots.
Yeah.
Now, that's going to be a combination of the pandemic and Joe Biden. But I mean, that was such an effective double strike. I don't think many Americans yet realised just how damaging the combination of COVID and Joe Biden was. I mean, you can see it from this chart. It's just off the scale, 4.5 to 7.2 in the space of just a couple of years.
The thing is, when we say 4 trillion or 7 trillion, like these are numbers that are just almost incomprehensible to the average person.
Yes.
Like, what does 7 trillion mean to you? Well, it's 1,000 billion per trillion in the American calculation. Yeah. Okay, well, how many billion? Well, that's 1,000 millions. How much did you make last year? I don't know, 100 grand? Like,
yeah.
Suddenly you realise that you are looking at scale that you just can't comprehend.
Oh, the scale's off the chart. I think it's something like, what is it? So 1 million seconds is something like a couple of months. But 1 billion seconds is like 40 years or something, and then a trillion seconds is like thousands and thousands of years. I mean, the scale is immense. The other site I want to run people by is this: the US debt clock. My favourite website, which kind of keeps track of US national debt, and there you can see it is
36 trillion
spiralling up. Yeah, bear in mind that is only the debt. Yeah. The problem that you've got with basically every Western country is they've made an awful lot of promises. Yeah. So, we will give you a pension. We will provide medical goods and services and stuff like that. And all of that. In fact, Samson, I don't know if I can do it on here. Can you go to the bottom right-hand corner, Samson? Bottom right. Okay, and this will give us total liabilities, including the debt. Oh, no, not that far down. No, the whirly bits. Yeah, total unfunded liability.
48 trillion Social Security.
Yes.
3 trillion Medicare.
43, yep. So a total unfunded liabilities of 226 trillion.
Jesus.
Which per American citizen, not per US taxpayer, but just per citizen, including like all the old people and the little kids and stuff, is $665,000.
It's just fiction.
Yes.
It's just an obvious total fictional system.
Yes, it's well into a debt spiral at this point. So something desperately needs to be done. Samson, could you take us back to the top left-hand corner, because a couple more bits I want to point out on this. Right. So interestingly, they've added a Doge clock.
Just saying, if this was like my game of Civ or something, I'd just start new. Go new game.
Yes. Well, you probably would have failed by this point. Yeah. The computer would have worked out that you've got no chance of ever winning this.
If somehow I'd managed my civilization in this way, I'd just restart.
Yes. Well, I mean, it's kind of what they did do at the last election, but yes. They've added a Doge clock, so you can see how that's ticking up.
So what's the Doge clock represent?
So that's the savings that they've found so far.
Oh, okay.
So that's why it's in gold and everything else is in red.
55 billion, that's a good start.
Yeah, I mean, it's a reasonable start. It's not...
Considering it's only been 2 weeks.
Yes.
4 years of them theoretically slicing the federal.
So if you want to play along at home and keep tabs on this, go to the US debt clock and just watch that tick up, and then hopefully that will shoot up a bit more. Right. So the nub of the problem. Is US spending over here. Actual spending is 7.2 trillion, and here's total taxes 5 trillion,
which is a lot.
Oh, it is a vast amount of tax.
But
it's not enough.
That's negative.
Yes. If federal spending was still 4.5 trillion, that'd be all right.
Well, yeah, you'd have a surplus.
Yeah. Now you would always expect that to start going down about now anyway, basically because the boomers are retiring.
Yeah.
And so a large cohort of people are going from the workforce into basically Social Security.
So just a quick thing.
Yeah.
How do we know that this real-time tracking is accurate?
Oh, they basically load in all the Treasury reports, and so I mean it's not literal,
right.
But you can work out the rate that these things going up roughly. So it's not exactly literal.
So it's an estimate, but okay.
It's descriptive based on a large amount of accurate data.
Okay.
Yeah. Right, so yeah, federal spending is, so we basically got a deficit of this number here of 2 trillion. Yeah, and that's why the debt has gone up, as we talked about previously, to fairly monstrous level. So, challenge obviously for Doge is how are we going to get rid of 2 trillion of deficit? How are we going to turn that around?
Well, you would get rid of about 4 trillion worth of spending.
Yes.
Well, 2 trillion worth of spending at least, but you'd want to get
So
rid of just as much spending as you could.
Exactly, right. And at first blush, that sounds relatively easy, doesn't it? Because you just cut spending.
I would be quite merciless about it, yeah.
Yes. Here's the problem, though. Out of that 7.2 of spending, about 4.5 of it is mandatory spending.
Okay, well, what's not mandatory?
Well, then you've got another trillion, which is debt interest.
To who?
Well, whoever the US does produce quite a lot of debt.
Who buys the debt?
Well, so it used to be, China used to buy a lot of it, and other world governments. In the last sort of 15 years or so, world governments have started thinking, yeah, you're not going to pay that back, are you?
No kidding.
Right, so what they did is they're kind of using what's called financial repression. They're basically making their own pension funds, banks, insurance companies buy it.
Right.
So, and it's called Tier 1 capital. So if you were to, because I know where you're going, you're just saying, oh, write it off.
Well, I mean, the US government is the one with the army.
Well, yes, but at this point, you'd be largely screwing over your own economy because you forced your own economy to buy a lot of this debt. I mean, other people are still buying it. I mean, Saudis will still buy a bit and all that kind of stuff. But actually, a lot of it is your own pension funds, your own insurance companies. So if you were to wipe it all away, you'd be basically destroying your own entire financial sector. All your pensions would be gone, your insurance would be gone, your banks would be gone. So it's not quite as easy to do that. So you got your mandatory spending, and that's things like Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security.
How much was that? Something like
4.5 trillion,
including the debt servicing as well.
No. That's on top.
5.5 trillion.
Yes, 5.5 trillion. Veteran benefits, food stamps, a whole bunch of stuff like that. Now, yeah, in theory, you can change that stuff, but you need to go through Congress. And there, of course, you've got some sensible people, a decent cohort of rhinos, and the Democrats. And the Democrats are obviously going to oppose everything. And actually, there's enough rhinos to really screw this up.
Oh, dear.
Yes. So the only bit that you can cut is about 1.7, something like that, of discretionary spending. So here we have the problem, you see, because let's say you cut the entire discretionary spending.
Well, you're still
in deficit.
Yeah.
Right. And that discretionary spending includes things like the military.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
And if you get rid of that, people definitely aren't going to be buying your debt anymore, because that's kind of the big stick that you use on.
Yeah, that was how you were keeping them in line, yeah.
I mean, you wouldn't be able to turn the lights on at the White House. It would go back to being how it was in George Washington's day, where it's just a house where you can work at, and you supply your own staff and linen. Right. So you've got a tiny bit of a problem there, which is why. Here we go. So this is Polymarket tracking how much they think Elon is going to cut. So the goal is, and the other thing I should mention is they've set themselves a time limit of 18 months.
Yeah.
So this Polymarket is saying how much will Doge cut in the first 6 months. You've got to cut 2 trillion. So you're looking at 666 billion, 100 billion per 6 months.
Yeah.
And Polymarket, as you can see, is very much odds on for below 250. So basically, the betting markets are saying that Doge is going to fail at this. It needs to be in here, this category down here, if it's going to succeed. So actually, I think these two are probably interesting bets if you're a betting man.
Well, I mean, 2 weeks, 55 billion gone already. It's actually in the time.
Yeah, what do you need to say? Hang on. 3 billion a day of recurring spend you need to cut every day.
Yeah, and so they are within that amount at the moment, right?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, you might argue that if you're looking for waste, the early gains are the easiest. Possibly.
Probably.
Yes. But I like this. But anyway, so people think that he is he's going to fail. I would point out, I have just recorded yesterday a Brokenomics on this whole subject. I won't go into much more detail. But one of the things I did in there was outline a plan for how it can be done very quickly if Congress is on board. Right. It is as simple as this, and I'll go through it. Right. Step one, you raise the retirement age to 70 immediately. Right.
No, they're not going to do that.
Yes.
They're not French. No, wait, that would be lowering it. No, they're not going to do that, and that's
right. But that saves you $1 trillion.
I bet it does.
Literally $1 trillion.
I bet it does.
That one action, and all you need to do is piss off some boomers.
Yeah, but the boomers are the ones who vote.
Yes. Well, so herein lies the problem, you see, because if the government was given a choice where they could halve the deficit by pissing off the Zoomers.
Oh, they'd do it instantly.
They piss off the Zoomers all the time just for shits and giggles, even when there's no particular reason to. But they're not going to do it to the boomers.
No, the boomers are people who with wealth and time.
Yes.
And, oh my God, they really are just a logjam for our entire civilization at this point, aren't they?
Oh, that's the whole reason we're in this problem in the first place, is basically boomers are getting old.
Yeah.
Yes. And the weird thing is, right, if you said that you were going to raise retirement age to 70, all the Gen Xers would be like, yeah, I wasn't expecting to get anything anyway.
No, I'm not.
So if you're telling me that I'm actually going to get something at 70, then thank you very much. And the millennials will probably be the same. And the Zoomers haven't contemplated the notion that they're going to get old yet, so they're kind of irrelevant to this conversation. But the boomer who's 65, who is now looking at 5 extra years before he gets his Gibbs, is going to go absolutely mental, right? Yep. But if you did do that one simple step, like $1 trillion saved. Okay. Right, and my argument here is, Social Security, what the Americans call pensions, that was basically created in 1935.
Yes.
Now, back then, the retirement age was 65, so it's only slightly lower than it was now.
The life expectancy was probably 70.
61.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, so retirement age was above life expectancy.
Right, okay.
So most people died while working. You come into the office one day, it's like, where's Bob? It's like, oh, he's probably died. Yeah. He was 62.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, what's happened today is life expectancy has gone way up. So life expectancy is now 77, around that sort of level. So you've now got at least a decade in Social Security. And if you were to keep the same set of assumptions on Social Security or pensions as we had at the beginning, then the retirement age would be what I worked it out. Retirement age would be 80. 4 years after most people drop dead anyway.
Yeah.
Right. So yes. Now the other issue is that when pensions were started, is old people were poor, and now 1 in 5 boomers is a millionaire.
God.
So
so they've done all right.
Yes. Yeah, they've done reasonably well out of it. Step 2, Medicare. So again, medical care for old people. Yep. Cut that to basically just critical care, not elective care. That's another 500 billion. So you've now saved 1.5. And Medicaid, which is the poor people, not old people, one, that's another 400 billion. And then if you close overseas military bases in places like Germany and other places where you don't actually need them, that's another 200 billion. So with those simple steps, you can basically get rid of the entire deficit within a week if you wanted to. The problem is those are the bits that are popular.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't think any of that's going to happen.
Yes. The other thing you can try and grow the economy. So let's say Elon cuts spending by half. Yeah. As long as they can get GDP growth up 2%, that does the other $1 trillion over 10 years.
Right. Okay.
Which they might actually do because they're making the economy more effective.
True.
Right. So that's the problem. Nobody thinks he's going to do it. As I've laid out actually you could do it in 5 minutes if you wanted to. What have they actually done so far? So one of the things that Doge has discovered when they've gone into this is that there is a system of basically payment checks, as you would expect. So whenever somebody tries to spend money in the government, there's a department in the Treasury that checks the payment.
Yeah.
They were literally instructed to never, ever deny a payment, even when that payment was known to be fraudulent or going to a terrorist group.
I feel like I missed out on a lot of opportunities here.
Yes.
I'm not knowing this.
Yes. We should have spent our entire career basically just sending invoices to the US government.
Yeah.
So you've got people who have worked in that role for decades and literally never once denied a payment. It's like spending was literally the point.
Even to known fraudulent or terrorist groups.
Yes.
I know this is a fraud, rubber stamp. I know
Yes.
this is Al Qaeda, rubber stamp.
Yes.
Mad.
Yes, it is a little bit mental. Here's some of the savings, savings that they've had so far. So what have we got? 1.5 million to advance diversity, equity, inclusion in Serbia's workplace and business community.
Yes.
Probably not necessary. We've got 70 grand for production of a DEI musical in Ireland.
Yes.
Probably non-essential.
Probably, but these are all really small. This is all small.
Yeah, it is.
pennies.
But I mean, this is if you're going after the discretionary bit, so that whatever is 1.7 trillion that you've got, it is going to be composed of lots and lots of little things. We got some bigger things coming up. 2.5 million for electrical vehicles in Vietnam, 47,000 for a transgender opera in Colombia, and 32,000 for a transgender comic book in Peru.
What I love about this is it's just pure liberal ideological nonsense.
Yes.
It's just, oh, well, we're going to save the planet. How?
Transgender musical in Colombia.
What, electric vehicles in Vietnam? Oh, we're going to liberate people from the oppression of gender. How? Transgender comic books in Peru.
Yes.
God.
Yes, have 30 grand for that. US aid, which Josh went through yesterday, so I'll be a bit light on this because I know he covered it in some detail. But yeah, it's got some of the things we've already talked about, the comic book.
6 million to fund tourism in Egypt?
Yes.
Just
You might think that's the Egyptians' problem.
Yeah, I would, actually.
Yes.
And I would have thought that's also their income. Like,
Yes.
so why would you be funding that? That's
Well, because you get to spend money that way, and spending money was the goal.
good point.
2 million for a sex change activist in Guatemala. Must have been a bloody good sex change. Maybe did it several times. Yeah. I don't know who that woman is, but she looks very lefty. Yeah. Eco Health Alliance.
Oh, really, Peter Daszak's organisation. Yeah.
Wuhan lab.
Yeah, no wonder Fauci needed that pardon.
Wheels on Mills for Al Qaeda fighters.
What? So, you get the meme of a bunch of missiles coming at Israel and then Israel firing, and it's just my tax dollars, somehow also my tax dollars.
Yes.
I mean, that's genuinely what's happening.
Yes, they were literally buying Al Qaeda dinner.
Why? What do they think is happening? So, there's food. Who provided the food? Well, the American government. What, the great
You must assume it's poison.
Yeah, exactly. Are they
and
trying
then
to
you
poison
realise
us?
how
No.
stupid they are.
It's totally fine.
Yes.
I've had 3 of them already.
Oh, that was a good one. They were basically funding poppy production in Afghanistan.
Yeah, well, they did. They used to have troops guarding the poppy fields.
Yes.
So it's like, right. So
Well, when the Taliban got in, poppy production basically sort of dropped to zero.
yeah, weirdly, the Taliban did the moral thing and stopped heroin production in Afghanistan.
Yes. In fact, that's happened several times throughout their history as well.
No doubt.
Yes.
Mental.
So you can track all of this if you want to see how it's going on the Doge Twitter page. So I did see one table. Here we go. So this is how much they've saved by getting rid of DEI departments in various departments. So the Bureau of Land Management was spending 170k on DEI, their DEI department, which is
FAA 45 million.
Yes. Some of them are a bit more.
The Office of Personnel Management, $500 million.
Yes, on DEI.
Jesus Christ.
Department of Agriculture was spending 110 million on DEI. So, what's that one? Oh, yes, USAID, what we just covered. Yeah, they were getting, 230.
Homeland Security, 15 million on DEI.
I saw an announcement. Trump talking about this. They were spending 50 million on buying condoms for Gaza.
Yeah, but it was Gaza and Mozambique, not Gaza in the Middle East. Fact checked.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes it all right.
It was only 7 million to Gaza in the Middle East.
Right. Okay. Fair
And
enough.
it was like, what? You know what? I'm actually against them sending condoms to Africa too. Not our problem.
I'll just end on this. I quite like this because I started with a link to the White House. Yeah. One of the first thing that went was foreign language services.
Good.
Which means, as a result, if you go to the White House website Spanish page now, you're met with a big banner that simply says "Go home."
That's a good point. Well, yeah, precisely. That is just mad. Absolutely mad. I cannot get over. Where's the mouse gone? There it is. That's just mental. Yeah. I'm actually annoyed. Like this. My father doesn't like spending money. Right.
Yes.
I've inherited that from him. Like it's like just don't like spending money. I just recently had to pay my last year's tax. Hated it. Yeah. Like pulling teeth.
Oh, I don't.
Couldn't stand it. Right. So spending money on something I'm going to get. Okay, I don't like that. Spending money on giving the money to the government to give it to stuff I don't agree with, even worse. Right.
There's people who hate you.
And so just looking at these numbers, I'm just like, oh my God, it's kind of giving me a headache. You know what I mean? Just.
If you would like to watch the full uncut version that is also uncensored, head on over to lotuseaters.com to find out more.